to not be a part of it.
Hello.
Whoa. No,
That's good. I don't have to stand so close. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. They've got it up pretty loud. I want to welcome everybody here today. This is the 37th annual Bedturning of Cedarhurst Quilters. And we are so happy that you all came today. We meet on the first Thursday of every month in this room, and we host a mini workshop at 9 o'clock. Then we do a short business meeting at 12:30. Then fun. That's when we really have the fun. But then we do the show and share of our quilts, our techniques, and our ideas. And throughout the year, we do retreats. We do comfort quilts that we donate to local charities. We keep pretty busy, but we also have lots of fun. I want to recognize our officers this year. Donna Yearwood, President. Nancy Bradford, Vice President. And Rhonda Allen is our Secretary Treasurer. And they have done a fabulous job. Thank you. To join the Cedarhurst Quilters, it is free for those who are already members or are members of the Cedarhurst Center for Arts. If you have any more information about joining us, you can contact any of the Cedarhurst Quilters or Carrie Stover, who is director of the Schroed Arts Center. Okay, I'm going to have to kind of change how I'm going to say something that didn't come out, which is okay. We want to thank Brent One for providing this bed for our bed turning. And you might wonder, what is a bed turning? We have quilts stacked up here on the bed, and every quilt has a story. Sometimes the story is just about the fabric. Sometimes it's why we make them. Sometimes it's the pattern. But every quilt has a story. So that's what we do with the bed turning. We tell the stories of the quilts. I want to thank all our sponsors. You know, I want to do this because these people really help us be able to put this show on, the quilt show plus the bed turning. The gallery sponsor is Huey Funeral Home. The exhibit sponsors are Bill and Sylvia Howard. The Family Center Gallery for Snow and Snooze is Crable and Associates, and we want to thank them for providing this for us. We are going to change it this year. We're doing things just a little bit different. So, if you are a Cedarhurst quilter, would you please stand up? I want everybody to see you. Now, Cedarhurst quilter, if you have made a mystery quilt, would you please come forward with your quilt? Now, while you're coming up here, I'm going to tell you what a mystery quilt is. A mystery quilt is a fun quilting project where the final design is hidden until the very end. So when you start the quilt, you don't have any clue what it's going to look like. And you have to pick out your fabrics and hope that they'll all match and go good together. But it includes a step-by-step instruction which they give you over time. 1 month, they might tell you what kind of fabric to pick out. The next month, they might tell you some cutting instructions. So this goes on for several months. Then they focus on one block at a time. And a final design is not revealed until all the pieces come together. But mystery quilts have something special about them because the people stay together. It's fueled by surprise, and it provides time for people to pull together, to build confidence, especially for beginners, knowing that they are not quilting alone, that everybody's doing it together. So I wanted you to see all these quilts at one time so you can see all the difference. Line up.
You guys should go up on that. Right? You should go up on top of the block and then do
Are they all the same pattern? No.
My scraps. Wonderful. Like potato chips, just like
So you can see how using the same pattern and using different fabrics, how different each of the quilts look. And they all had a good time doing it. We do have a mystery quilt out here hanging on the show also, so you can kind of, you've seen what they look like, so now you can look for the mystery quilt. Okay. Carrie Stover, who is the director of the Art Center, she has done and hung this quilt show, I guess since 2006. And so I asked her, and she got me some notes here on how things have changed. And I'm just going to read what she presented to me. She said this is the 20th exhibit that she has organized and installed, and she began in 2006. And the first quilt shows were held in a warehouse facility. I see some heads nodding. Where it stands today. And back in those early years, where I don't know exactly, it's that direction, I think. But it's the old warehouse at the back of the property. And they used to, she said, in those early years, clotheslines were hung across the ceiling, and quilts were even hung from the rafters with clothespins. A humble beginning for what has become a premier quilt exhibition. Over the past 2 decades, I have watched one generation of quilters pass the torch to another. And during that time, quilting has changed. What was once dominated by traditional patterns has blossomed into a vibrant display of contemporary color, design, and innovation. Advances in fabric collections, tools, and sewing technology have transformed the art form, and is allowing quilters to be creative and honor time-honored techniques. Today, the excellence of Gathering of Quilts exhibition is a testament to the talent, the creativity, and the forward-thinking spirit of the Cedarhurst quilters. They have embraced the evolution of this craft while preserving the sense of community and tradition that has defined the exhibition for nearly 4 decades. She says it has been an incredible privilege to witness that transformation firsthand. So when you look at these quilts, things, I say they're not exactly like we used to have, but they're still the traditional techniques still used today. Okay, so saying that, we have 23 quilts on the bed for you to enjoy and hear the stories. And as we go, you may hear words and things that you just don't even know what they mean. When I first started quilting, I told my husband, I said, I don't think I can do this quilting thing. They're talking a foreign language. I don't even understand everything. And so as I got into it, and piece by piece, you learn about the fabrics and you learn about color and different things. And it's been quite a journey and I've enjoyed it. So, girls, you ready? We're going to show some quilts. I want to recognize the people on stage here. Sharon Strack, raise your hand, Sharon. Cynthia Thomas, Rhonda Allen, Ginger Henry, and Terry Henry. They're going to help hold these quilts up. Now these quilts get heavy. After holding them up for a while, your arms get kind of tired. Okay, so while they bring the first quilt, before they bring it up, I want to show you this. This is a half square triangle. It is obviously a square with 2 triangles, each making up half of the square. It is very versatile and it's used in a lot of quilts, different sizes. But what if you have Yes. This king-size quilt uses only half-square triangles and 16-inch and 8-inch blocks. And there are 60 different designs with no two the same. And each is a different color and no repeats. And that was made by Becky Rome, and the title is Colorful Half-Square Triangles. It was made in 2019, and it was machine pieced and long arm machine quilted by Becky herself. I don't want to keep you here all afternoon, and we have quite a few quilts, so we're going to work out a schedule here to make it go a little better, a little faster maybe. Okay, this quilt is called Garden Sunrise. It is machine pieced by Ginger Henry, with long arm quilted by Cheryl Matthews. This quilt was made from a Jolly, Jolly bar, which is a layer cake. Now, this is a layer cake. And what this is 10-inch squares. And they sell them all together in this like a packet. Most of the time there's maybe like, I think 40 in here, and all these fabrics are supposed to be in the same line. So a Jolly bar, they cut this in half, and they sell it like that. The fabric is called Quarterfinal Collection by Fig Tree. 12 sawtooth stars make up this lap quilt with a surrounding border. A panagram is quilted on a long arm, and this one is called Twist and Shout. This next quilt is by Laura Decker. It's called Scrappy Memory. It was what they call a UFO, which is an unfinished object. And it was started in 2010, and it was hand-pieced. But guess what? It was left unfinished till 2026. It's made of memories. All the scraps are left over from baby quilts that I made and gave away. Also, it contains fabric from my mom's stash, and also has blocks out of clothes that she made, some for her brother and herself. And so that's why she named it Scrappy Memory. This one is from Linda Edwards, right? I checked to make sure that we got the right one. Where's the Nine is the name of it. And it was made in 2026. It was machine pieced and long arm quilted. It says, during a recent Cedarhurst Quilters workshop, fellow member Becky Rome led the group in making a table topper from what they call a disappearing 9-patch block. This involved cutting a complete 9-patch block to create a new block, and then resembling the new blocks into a new design. I chose to quilt mine on the long arm machine using ruler work and some very feeble freestyle quilting. While it is far from perfect, it was a delightful project from start to finish. Now, there's a couple things I'm going to mention. The 9-patch block. Quilters are famous for this. We take a nice 9-patch block, it's got 9 patches on it. Then we cut it up, and then we put it back together again. And sometimes we take the most beautiful fabric, and we cut it up in little squares, and put it all together, and it comes out beautiful. and it's entitled The Happy Farm. It was an extra from the Snuggle and Snooze room titled I Spy. I'm going to stop here just a minute and tell you about the I Spy quilts and the Snuggle and Snooze. Right across that wall, there's a little hall there, and that goes back to the children's department. And behind there is what they call the Snuggle and Snooze room. Every year we get a challenge to make quilts for the kids. This year it was I Spy. So there's quilts hung up in there that all I Spy. And this was kind of a leftover from that. But what else they did this year, which is different, is they made up a game, and this is called a scavenger hunt. And they got these papers in there, and the kids can come in and they can find these pictures on different quilts. So it's I Spy. They can go around the room and try to find. Now, my thinking was, this would be even fun for adults. It don't have to just be for kids. I may have to try it when I get down here. See if I can find all those pictures. So, just don't think it's just for kids to go in there. You see the artwork and everything about the I Spy quilts. This quilt is called Whirling Hexagons, and it was started 13 years ago by my friend Judy Schneider, and she couldn't get it finished. So one day she was talking to me and I said, well, just bring it. I was going to help her finish it. But that changed, and she wanted me to finish it. So I was honored to finish piecing this, and I quilted it with a pattern called Paisley Swirl. It was a program on a long arm quilter. We had some blocks left over, so there was enough to make 2 pillow shades. Would you kind of hold this way? I think these are or come down, so these people on this end can see them too. You see that the workers here on stage that are the quilters that are putting these quilts together, you see they're all wearing white gloves. That is because we have oils and things on our hands, and you really don't want them to get on the quilts. And so they all wear gloves, white gloves, so that we protect the fabric and protect the quilts that way. This next quilt is from Gwen Trotter. It's called Blooms. It was machine pieced by Gwen, and it was quilted by Nancy Bradford on a long arm machine. This pattern was to be 67 by 67, but I wanted it larger. This one really tested me. But after quite a bit of time, I figured it out by using a magenta flying glass to the pattern. I made it larger than the pattern. It took 2 fat quarters. Fat quarters are a piece of fabric 18 inch by 22 inch. And I think I have a fat quarter here to show you. This is what they call a fat quarter. And sometimes they sell them in bundles. But this is just a fat quarter. It's just 18 inches by 22 inches. I'll wake anybody up to sleeping. Okay. She said, I think this is the hardest one I have made in 10 years. No more using this pattern, but I do like it now. Okay. We're going to talk about a couple of traditional, I don't know if you call them antique, but they're older quilts. And I'm going to tell you the story first. Okay. In 1980s, back up. These quilts are from Mary Dillon. In 1980s, my in-laws decided to pack up and move to Southern Illinois after living in Decatur most of their lives. After celebrating over 40 garage rafters, in the attic, and boxes found in a shed. Quilts were divided among the children. These are the 2 quilts that were adopted by my husband. The history with these quilts are vague. Most quilts were made for function, warmth, and comfort. Catherine was one of 8 children. Times were tight. Highest level of education completed by her was 8th grade, and her husband, Don Gilman, completed 9th grade. This was made by Granny Gardner using a treadle sewing machine and piecing by hand. Also, it was hand quilted using just a needle and thread. Okay. The first one, I think, is this Granny's churn dash. Okay, this one is named churn dash. It's based on the block's similarity to a dash or dasher, the cross-shaped paddle in the center of the butter churn. One source I found said the block was designed in 1850. This block is also referred to as a monkey wrench. That's the first one that she, the first one that she had. This is the second one. It's called the Granny's 6-pointed star. She said, I was unable to find any other name rather than 6-pointed star. After browsing the internet, I thought calling it a 6-pointed star would just have to do. There are so many patterns for stars to be seen. Just enter the number of points you want and you will find a star pattern to accommodate. This quilt is backed with an old heavy blanket. Kind of turn it this way so they can see it on this end.
It's really heavy compared to the others.
Now this one might make you a little bit hungry. Just giving you a heads up. Because the title of it. Sarah, come here, please. I'm putting you on, I need you. Come here. Okay, this one is going to make you hungry because it's called pumpkin pancakes.
Oh, yeah. That is cute.
Okay, pumpkin pancakes. It was a machine piece by Ginger Henry. It was long arm quilted by Cheryl Matthews. This quilt was made from a kit that included a layer cake, something like this, and it had denim and daisies. With the navy eyelet background yardage and a yard of printed white fabric for the stars. The pattern was from the Autumn Quilting Book with Wendy Shepherd. Being a blue fabric lover, the navy background was the big draw for this quilt. The back, okay, let's go this way, show them. And now you can see the back. It says the backing is Sweet 16 patchwork from the same fabric collection. It's the same fabric. You have to touch it to know the yardage was printed with this beautiful quilted look. They used a pentagram quilting and it was called Loop to Loop. That's another thing. Everything has a title. Everything has a name. Quilting patterns, fabrics, everything has patterns and has names. And if they don't have a name, we make them up. We have a special guest here today. We have a special guest here today, Rusty Freeman.
Good.
The Cedarhurst Quilters wanted to take a moment to acknowledge and thank Rusty because he is the Director of Visual Arts here at Cedarhurst for 17 years. And he's dedicated leadership and he's had service to the Cedarhurst Visual Arts programs and the creative community. But he is retiring at the end of this month. what, a couple more days?
Tuesday. to be exact.
How many hours?
But he has always been a big supporter for the Cedarhurst Quilters and all of our endeavors that we've done for the Guild. And so we wanted to give you a thank you and say congratulations.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to be a part of this group and serve you ladies, but I want to point out one thing. I don't really think of you as quilters. I think of you as artists. What you express, what you do, what you accomplish, it's as good as any painting or sculpture hanging in the permanent collection. Bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rusty. So 2 more days and he's flying the coop. This is a quilt that I made. The name of the pattern is called Dragonfly Crazy, and it was by Jana Davidson. And I bought the pattern in Branson, Missouri. The dragonflies were hand embroidered, and the fabrics that I used were called batiks. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about a batik fabric. They are a hand-dyed fabric using what they call a wax-resistant dyeing technique. First, they use a hot liquid wax, and they put that on a blank piece of cloth. Second, they take the fabric and they put it in a dye bath. And this process is repeated many times with different colors. Then the fabric is boiled in hot water to melt the wax. That's like a quilter. You put it on and take it off. So the fabric, because they're made with this technique, there are no 2 pieces of batik that are exactly identical. Now some of them look alike, but there's always something a little different because they're hand dyed. And I put that on a long arm. Okay, had to get drink water. Okay, I hope you're having fun. I am having a good time up here. I love talking about these quilts. It is so much fun. Okay, the next quilt is called Exploding Hearts. And it was made by Chris McDonald in 2026. Machine pieced on a long arm program quilting. She says, this quilt is a fun interpretation of an exploding heart. The explosion could mean a broken heart, or it could mean excitement. It could mean exploding from joy, or even love. Even though the name is Exploding Hearts, it could seem as melting. What do you see as you look at the bits and pieces of this heart? She says, I personally have seen happiness as I quilted it with hearts and butterflies. I don't know. Is that a batik on the back? Do you know?
I think so.
Yeah, that might be in a batik, one of the batik fabrics. They are thicker fabric, and sometimes I haven't now had no trouble, but some people have trouble quilting on them. Okay, colorful log cabin. This is machine piece by Ginger Henry. It was long arm quilted by Cheryl Matthews. This quilt took 1 year to make. A quilting life designer, Sherry McConnell, released a new quilt block center each month of the year. It was sewn in surrounding by light and dark fabric strips, log cabin style. A border and binding were added. All fabrics were from several collections designed by Sherry McConnell. The backing is a hexagon printed fabric, looking like it was pieced. It's an extra bonus to the colorful quilt, The pentagram quilting is a Van Gogh pattern. Van Gogh pattern. Amazing. Now, at the beginning, I told you that we do like many workshops with the quilters, and we do longer workshops also, but we have somebody that teaches us. It's a class, and we can come and be taught. And this was by Nancy Bradford, and it's called Magic Carpet Ride. It was pieced by Nancy and quilted long arm programmed. Now these three quilts, I won't talk about each one of them, but they all did this. Okay. Nancy made this as a sample for the class that she taught here in April. The pattern is by quilted today, and it's called Magic Carpet Ride because the scalloped edges on the top and the bottom resemble the edges of a carpet. The class was a lot of fun, and students learned about planning ahead so the seams nest well and create better matching corners. The scalloped edge was also a new learning experience for most of the students. Nancy taught a new method of creating bias binding in one continuous piece from one 24-inch square of fabric. Let's hold them up a little bit longer because I've got two more to read. Okay. This one is from Linda Edwards. It says, thanks to Nancy Bradford and the class she taught in May at the Schroeder Art Center, I had the opportunity to experience some of the unique piecing techniques of the great Eleanor Burns. What a treat. I chose colors that will accent the couch in my living room where my quilt will reside. After putting it on my long arm machine using the Bossa Nova pentagram, I bound it with bias binding to accommodate the scalloped edges on the top and the bottom. I made the design decision to blend the outer scallops into the side, creating rounded corners rather than straight ones. Why? My quilt, my choice. Okay, here's the other one. It says, pieced and quilted by Tina Owens. This quilt was completed April 2026 as a class project for the quilt class taught by Nancy Bradford in conjunction with the Cedarhurst Center for the Arts Spring 2026 art classes. Thank you. And I thoroughly appreciate Rusty's remarks about quilting being an art form. It's always been an art form, always. And sometimes we use patterns. A lot of times, I'm a pattern quilter. A lot of people use patterns. Some people design their own. And it's definitely an art form. Let the girls get situated here. We only got a few more to go. I do want to talk about a couple of other things, but we'll get these going here. This quilt was pieced by Chris McDonald's mom, Norma Hector, and it was quilted by her stepdad, Court Hector, as a gift for Chris and Bruce's wedding in 2014. The colors were chosen to represent both Chris purple and Bruce blue, and the shading of the colors between them to represent the blending of their lives. The quilt was named Promise, as a reminder of the promises they made to each other on their wedding day. Turn it up. Good. Can you see him? Can you see him? Can everybody on this side see him? I kind of wonder. Okay. And Judy told me today that she is not a charter member of the Cedarhurst Quilters, but she has been a Cedarhurst Quilter, I guess, the longest of any of us. Judy, can you raise your hand? I've lost you. There she is over here. And these are two quilts. She says this quilt, the first one is called Log Cabin Variation, 2026. Machine pieced and machine quilted using a freestyle technique. When you use a freestyle technique, you're doing it all yourself. You're designing the quilting method. It says the quilt is made using fabrics from a former member, Judy Smith's collection, and the fabrics were donated to the guild by her family. Let's show them to the side over here. The second one is called Convergence, and it's machine pieced and quilted by Judy. And this quilt was made by using Ricky Tim's Convergence method. 2 fabrics were used in this quilt. This is a new method that I hadn't heard of before. I guess I'm going to have to check on Ricky Tim's page and see what this looks like. And the backs. This is a very popular pattern back in the day called Sunbonnet Suit. The exhibitor's name for this is Marcia Hake, Cedarhurst Quilter. And she says it was pieced by Opal Armstrong, and it was quilted by Opal Armstrong, all by hand. It was all done by hand. She said, I bought my dear aunt's quilt of Sunbonnet Suit, of unknown date that she made it. She was born in 1909, so I am guessing the 1930s. It was well loved, so I am in the process of repairing it with black blanket stitching that is missing. She was Opal Armstrong of Irvington, my favorite aunt, a modest and most talented homemaker and farm wife. My best memory of her was the dress box full of Barbie doll clothes that she sewed for me. I knew she had to be special. She would have never entered an item she made in a show or a contest. So here it is, Aunt Opal, for all these people to see and admire your talent. Let's show the back. Turn that and show the back. You can see it's been well loved and well used. Okay, now we'll let them hold them. Every time, another just hint out there, they always tell us never fold the quilt the same. Every time you fold it, change how you fold it. That way you don't get those deep folding lines in your quilt. Of course, if you got them on the bed, that's not a problem. Okay, Raining Love on You. Machine piece by Ginger Henry. Long arm quilted by Cheryl Matthews. Raining Love on You pattern was designed by Robin Pickens. She also created the Darling Peony Fabric Collection. This quilt was made with a layer cake. Okay, here we go again. It was made with a layer cake. And cranberry colored yardage for the background. 2 half-yard big strips were cut up to make the added rain trails. Okay. You want to turn that just a little bit again so they can see? We did. I'm making it work, I'm telling you. The backing is super bloom fabric with large prints of coneflowers, poppies, bluebells, black-eyed Susans, and other favorite flowers. The pentagram quilting is the Valentino pattern to complete this lovely look. Frida and her baby blue eyes. Nancy started, this is from Nancy Bradford. She started this quilt as part of an online quilt-along in January of 2026. She found the layer cake in her stash and thought it would be beautiful in this quilt. She thought the white squares would really stand out against the bright colors in the other fabrics. As usual, life got in the way, and it was put aside for several months. A few weeks ago, she was looking for a quick project, and she found this UFO in a bin in her sewing room. Since several blocks were already completed, it didn't take long to finish it up. Frida was quilted with the baby blue eyes quilting design. This one is also made by Nancy Bradford, and it's called Kathy's Purple Quilt. It was made in 2026, piece by Nancy Bradford, quilted long arm programs by Nancy Bradford. It says last year, several of Nancy's friends accepted early retirement. She offered to make each of them a quilt as a retirement gift. All she asked was for a color preference. After that, she received 3 more requests in the same week for purple quilts. She was overwhelmed and ended up having a writer's block and coming up with a name. The first was for Susan, and it is on display out there in the show. The second was for Morgan's purple quilt. It actually was for Rory, but I got goofed up and I named it after her mother. This is the third purple quilt, and it's named for its recipient, Kathy. Not a co-worker, but a cousin. Kathy's purple quilt. Show the back on that one too. Nancy Bradford entitled this quilt called Bob's Blue Quilt. Nancy's mom went to live at Green Tree last year and cleaned out her sewing room. Nancy took a few of her mom's quilt kits to finish up for her. When she gave her the finished quilt, Dee was anxious to show it to all her friends there at Green Tree. That created a great desire for quilts. Nancy decided to make quilts for Dee's table buddies at meals. This is the first quilt made for her friend Bob, and his only request was for a blue quilt. Just coming after 3 purple quilts and her freeze on coming up with cute names, here is Bob's Blue Quilt. Okay, here's a couple of very special quilts. These were These were made by Kathy Branch, pieced and quilted, machine pieced and long arm freestyle quilted. And this is what she says. A couple years ago, our son-in-law asked for a quilt if I could make it from t-shirts. When I said yes, he gathered all of his Indian motorcycle t-shirts and purchased fabric with Indian motorcycle designs, plus a motorcycle handle for the back of the quilt. And he designed both the back and the front of the quilt. He brought it back to me to submit for this year's bed turning to add a variety to the quilts we usually show. Come this way so they can see. Kathy on a machine, quilted long arm freestyle. And it says, our daughter and son-in-law both belong to the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, which has a fundraiser each year. And many of the members drive Harley-Davidson motorcycles. I have made a couple similar quilts for this fundraiser, but this one has been made for the wives of the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association members to decide who should receive it. The size is an 82-inch by 100-inch. So this is going to go to one of the wives. Okay. I'm going to tell a little story on Drew. At first, when he was getting with quilting, he wasn't too impressed with all this quilting stuff, and he's come up. He's not only bought fabric, he's designed quilts. So. Okay, take a breath. If you are a Cedarhurst quilter and you brought a quilt for a quick trip around the world, come forward.
Do that.
So what we're going to do about this trip around the world, we're going to show them all at one time. And I'm going to kind of... This quilt is called Quick Trip Around the World. It was a morning workshop presented to us by Becky Rome. And it's a patchwork of design, and it looks like it's made from small squares that radiate outward in diamond-like waves. And instead of cutting and sewing like any little bitty squares, they use what they call a strip piecing and tube construction. I'm going to let him get up there and I'll let him.
See, this is what I was done before.
We may have to put a double on the floor. Okay. What you do is you sew long strips of fabric in different colors to create a strip set. You then sew the first and last strip together, turning the whole thing into a fabric tube. You slice across the tube, which gives you perfect pre-sewn segments of squares. The trick is to be sure to put the colors of strips in the right order. It sounds hard, but it goes together pretty quickly. And I want you to just look at all the different you girls, beautiful. She's holding that up for me. Thank you.
I can move it slower just by.
I don't know about you guys, but that just took my breath away. I mean, that was beautiful. We're coming down to the end of the quilts and the quilt show. I want to thank you all for coming today and listening to me as I go on about quilting, which is my therapy, my hobby. Keeps me sort of sane. So I'm thankful that you're all here. I do want to say one thing about quilting, and Rusty talked about it a little bit about being an art form, and it is an art form. And I've got this, and it says, not only is quilting an art form, it is a stress reliever for some people, sometimes. Sometimes you want to pull your hair out. The camaraderie that we make and the friendships that we make I just can't even explain how great it is. There's a learning process, especially when you thought you were too old to learn. It's forgiveness when we think things need to be perfect. The love, heart, and soul that goes into making the quilt. Thanks to the women and men who share their stories with their quilting today. Thank you. Oh, and all of you be sure and go look at the quilt show. Go look at the Snuggle and Snooze. And when you come in the front door, there's a little room off to the left. Go and look at those quilts. Don't leave without seeing them because they're awesome.